Hello and welcome to the Aid Station. I'm Chris Robb, and today I'm really excited to be heading to Hong Kong to meet a genuine legend and a veteran of the mass participation industry. Today we meet William Koh, who is the Senior Vice President of Hong Kong Amateur Athletics Association. He's been involved in the association for 50 years. He's also the chairman of the Organising Committee for the Standard Chartered Hong Kong Marathon, a role which he's held for 24 years. William, wonderful to catch up with you again. Thanks for making the time.
Well, thank you, Chris, for inviting me to join your program.
Oh, it's just wonderful. We've caught up from time to time over the years, and you've been gracious in hosting me over at the Kowloon Cricket Club on a couple of occasions. We've had wonderful lunches and always great conversations. Can you maybe start by giving a little bit of background of your amazing story, please, William?
Okay, I try. I started interest in sports in my school days, actually, and athletics and basketball are the two sports which I like most. Being captain of both events, part of my responsibility is to assist the master in charge to organize inter-house competitions. I guess this is how I get myself started in operation and organization of sporting events. My headmaster was always interested in sports, especially in athletics, and he was the chairman of the Hong Kong Amateur Athletic Association at the time. Having realized my interest in sports, he invited me to join him as a volunteer in Hong Kong 3A, in which I did. And my first assignment was to help organizing the first international marathon back in December 1969. Well, the field of runners will not last by any means compared with today's standard. Only 28 runners from 9 cities took part in the first marathon, with 4 expats from Hong Kong, and no Hong Kong Chinese were in the race. I continue to serve in the association for over 50 years now, being the senior vice president of the association, out of which I spent 27 years as chairman of the association at the time. During the time of my chairmanship, I organized a lot of seminars, discipline events, and also other track and field events in Hong Kong and international events. I had the opportunity to attend the 1988 Olympic in Seoul, and I'm a founder member of the Asian Athletic Association in 1973. I was the appointed chairman of the routing, convoy, and security for the Hong Kong leg of the 2008 Beijing Olympic Games torch relay in Hong Kong. Therefore, with all my involvement, I have plenty of opportunities to meet with events organizers, senior officials, athletes, and people from all walks of life. My first job actually with the School Sports Association is also involved in sports. I organized some 15 different sports for 1,500 schools, secondary and primary, with athletics, swimming, basketball, football, volleyball, etc. This is a very challenging job for me, and I had the opportunity to exercise my operational and organizational ability.
Wow, what a story, William. Just incredible. And what you would have seen in terms of the growth of the industry over those years. I think I'm right in saying that the Hong Kong Marathon now something like 73,000 participants, and it sells out it's oversubscribed, isn't it? I mean, it absolutely sells out. Have I got the numbers right?
Yeah, correct. Actually, I'm still very much involved in the Standard Chartered Marathon. As you have said, for 24 years as a chairman of the Organizing Committee. The marathon I started in 1997 was regarded as a symbolic run, showing Hong Kong's return to China, when some 1,000 runners running from Hong Kong starting and across the border and finished in Shenzhen, China.
Wow, amazing. What's things like now? I mean, it's been an incredibly challenging year for you and for Hong Kong, not only from a COVID perspective, but political unrest. You obviously had to cancel the event there this year. You're now looking ahead, it's usually a February event. What's things like in Hong Kong at the moment from a COVID perspective and life generally, William?
Well, I'm trying to reactivate the Standard Chartered Hong Kong Marathon for next year. And but obviously there are a lot of challenges in front of us. as I said, the health requirement, the prevention, and so on, which for 74,000, some of the requirements are not being practical, and we may not be able to do it. But anyway, we will keep on fighting for a good day for in 2021 for the marathon.
Yeah, and what's kind of happening in the running scene generally at the moment? I mean, are there any events that are happening? I mean, Hong Kong, not only obviously the marathon is huge, part of the Standard Chartered portfolio around Southeast Asia, and there are a number of other profile events, but obviously that's at the real pinnacle of it. But trail running is huge in Hong Kong. There's a vibrant running and mass participation scene there, cycling and so on. But are there any events that are taking place at the moment?
Well, organized event, absolutely zero, basically. All the running, from my observation, are just isolated cases where the runners or the normal people are running in the street, in the park, in jogging lane, and there's absolutely no organized activities for the time being.
Wow, and from that perspective, all these runners, we're hearing anecdotally all over the world that it's kind of exploding. Everyone's getting out, they're running, cycling. You hear of many countries where bike shops have run out of bikes. Is there that kind of explosion that's been happening in Hong Kong as well, with just so many people getting out and running on their own but not able to participate in events?
Well, you're right in your observation. Basically, right now is all the running on individual basis and not in organized fashion.
Yeah, and your sense would be, you've lived through, the running boom of the 70s and 80s. You've seen our industry, go from its infancy. You say 28 participants in your first marathon to 74,000 now. You've seen the industry grow. What's your kind of, if you had a crystal ball, do you see the industry, once we get past COVID, do you see this massive growth again of this pent-up demand of people wanting to come back and participate in mass participation events once we get through COVID?
Well, my observation is really after the COVID-19 is settled down, things will go back to normal gradually, and not all of a sudden. In terms of participation in running event, I believe there will be a lot of event organized by different parties, and the participation should be very great.
Yeah, I think that's one of the positives. Much as our industry is being decimated all over the world, so many people struggling to keep their businesses alive. We were speaking beforehand that you're working really hard to keep all your staff involved, and you haven't had to lay off a whole bunch of staff. You still seem to have the support of sponsors. But how have you managed some of the challenges? I mean, people working from home. There was a lockdown for a period in Hong Kong, but how have your staff been going, and how have you been managing with managing your organization?
Well, I have not much choice but to activate and motivate the staff all the time to keep them in the job. The COVID-19 is a major global disaster, really. And to me, it is a world war with one common enemy, COVID-19. The pandemic really hit us all by surprise, with huge damages done to the world economy. International traveling basically totally cut out completely. And the COVID-19 has caused severe and sudden shutdown of many businesses. For me, I basically stuck in two places, home and office, with occasional visit to the clubs. But with many facilities are being closed down, so everyone got stuck at home in isolation. There are some work-home concepts, but the efficiency is not as good as everyone expected, basically.
Yeah. And I mean, in terms of the lockdown, people are now, you said you go to the office, so people go to the office from a social perspective, restaurants and bars and things open, shopping malls are open, so there's more people moving around, or is it pretty quiet on the streets generally compared to what it usually is? I love Hong Kong. It's one of my favorite cities to visit. I just find the energy of Hong Kong is just amazing. What's your sense of that? Has a lot of that kind of disappeared at the moment?
The general feeling is bad in a way, but I think gradually it will come back to a better life with the relaxation of the many restrictions by the government. We all have to learn to be patient, really, and putting on the mask and keep social distancing is absolutely essential, really. I know putting on masks is not easy, it's not comfortable, but it's unavoidable. Many activities are badly hit and affected, with the unemployment rate has gone sky high.
Yeah.
I think really we have to learn to survive under this extremely difficult time and conditions. And it will take time and depends on how successful it is for the vaccine to be coming in the very near future.
Yeah, no doubt. And William, I always like to speak about leadership on the aid station. Clearly, you're a leader in the industry, in the region, recognized globally for the amazing amount of work you've done. Tell us a little bit about where you take your leadership cues from. You mentioned that, you need to keep your staff motivated. Have you had in your younger days any mentors, any leadership principles that you'd like to share with people that are watching in these challenging times?
Well, my challenge right now is to reactivate the Standard Chartered Hong Kong Marathon next year, as I have said before, and to keep all the officials in contact, to keep the staff in contact, motivate them are the key really at this point in time. Be patient and keep safe and be positive. This is another one I would advise people to do. Do some daily exercise to keep yourself active and physically alert. And really, some of the business virtually go down to zero. So I hope life will get back to normal soon.
Yeah, I think that the all-important exercise, staying positive, sometimes easier said than done, particularly people that are losing their businesses and got absolutely nothing. But I guess we have to soldier on. And I think over your years in the industry, you would have seen some of the ups and downs, and this is probably one of the lowest troughs, I guess. But hopefully we're on the way back up. Over those years, I'm sure you've seen many inspiring things, people participating in the events, people who were never runners turning up and participating in an event. Have you got any inspiring stories to share with the viewers?
Well, Hong Kong basically has been under threat since June last year with public demonstration leading to social unrest with violence and arsons and so on, followed by the COVID-19 since January this year. So Hong Kong has been facing a very bad time in the last 12 months, and which results in the cancellation and postponement of many events, programs, and activities, and of course, including the Standard Chartered Hong Kong Marathon. I have decided to stay put and face the challenge by keeping on motivating myself, my staff, and those involved, and to plan ahead, really. That's the only way we can do. Keep on encouraging them not to give up under this difficult time is the key.
Yeah, no, just keep focusing that there will be an end. The analogy that I use often, in fact, it was Andrew Messick, the CEO of Ironman, who shared it on one of the early aid station interviews. Is it's like starting the marathon and you get to the 30-kilometer mark and they tell you that the finish line's been moved to the 50K mark, and then you get to the 35-kilometer mark and they tell you it's been moved 60 kilometers, and we just don't know where this finish line is going to be. But the sense is that once we get the finish line, and the point you make is it might be slow before we get there, but there'll be plenty of things to happen to keep people. Once we get back there, people will come back. They'll want to run in events like yours. What's your sense? I mean, 73,000 people that will normally sign up. If you were able to get the event happening next year, I'm hearing these stories around the world. I speak to people all over the place that the few events that are happening, we had this fear in the industry that people would be terrified to come out and run, but people are signing up. They're desperate to come and run. Is that the kind of feeling that you're getting in Hong Kong, that if you're able to say, yes, the event will happen in February next year, that you'll be oversubscribed as usual, or are people a little bit scared to come out and run?
Well, we hope we can get many runners to run really. But then with the COVID-19 situation, no one can tell what can happen, but we can just try our best. Life really is like running a race at the moment. We are reaching the junction of the crossroad. One day we will find our direction and complete the distance, I believe. And to be patient, as I have said before, is the key word. To keep surviving and be positive, stay healthy and safe.
Yeah, and as a closing note, one thing, you've been involved in many races, many Standard Chartered Hong Kong marathons. Is there one moment that stands out for you? If there's, if you were to say the memory of, whether it's a challenging memory or an inspirational memory of someone crossing the finish line or something that happened in the event, if you were to pick one moment that just is burnt into your memory from all these years of the Standard Chartered Hong Kong Marathon, is there one particular moment that you can share?
Well, actually, the biggest challenge for me through my experience in organizing the marathon is that each of the marathon has their own characters and challenges. In the 1997 marathon, we have to run across the border, and I have no idea what to do after running across the border. Nothing can be sure. And in Hong Kong, subsequent years, finding the urban route was a great challenge for us. I have to persuade the government that if we want to have more participation, running in urban area are most essential. And that is the challenge for me in organizing the marathon, really.
Always lots of competing demands, all the different stakeholders, and yeah, certainly you've overcome many. Wonderful to catch up with you again, William. Thanks so much for making the time and sharing your story and your challenges, and hopefully it's not too long before we can catch up again at the Kowloon Cricket Club and have lunch, and we can talk about a successful marathon that's happened again. Thank you so much, and all the very best.
Well, it's a pleasure of talking to you, Chris. So I look forward for your next visit to Hong Kong very soon. Thank you for inviting me again.
Wonderful. Thank you, William. Take care. Bye-bye.